Hey, what's going on everybody? Alex here with Freedom Mowers. Hope you all are doing well. Appreciate all the new subscribers and everyone's support on the channel. I just put up a short the other day on trying to save the mower deck for this Husqvarna, and I didn't think I could do it, but I spent some time yesterday working on this. Actually, I probably put about 4 hours into working on this deck. I did have to go get some welding wire, but I'll see if I can pop in the clip right now. All right, I am working on a Husqvarna 46-inch deck today, and this thing has been through the ringer. It is totally split here on the side and starting to go around the spindle. There is a crack here. The idler bracket is broke out. One of the hanger mounts is cracked in multiple spots, and there's another couple holes around that spindle. But we're gonna try to save this thing. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like when I'm done. So you guys could see in the clip basically some of the stuff that was going on with this mower deck. The biggest problem that it had was right here on the chute, it had totally broken between, and it didn't have much support anymore. It was starting to get some flex around the spindle here, but I went ahead and cut out some of it and reinforced this. I think this is like 16th inch steel. I am certainly not very good at welding, but I did my best on this yesterday. There was some other holes over here. Oh, and by the way, this is the mower we're going to be working on. It's a YTH 2246. Let's see, the idler pulley bracket was totally pulled through the deck, and there was actually a plate on this when I picked this machine up. It just wasn't even welded anymore. It was just laying on top of the deck. This left hanger here was cracked up towards the top, around the bottom, and also around this side, and they had already put some brackets on here, and I went ahead and welded the bracket down. And I'll show you guys the underside here as well. So the front mount was cracked, and I went ahead and fixed that. I got it clamped together, welded that, put another little piece of plate under here. I welded this crack. There had already been some prior repair done. Welded underneath. This is that bracket that had pulled through. I kind of beefed it up a little bit there, and another spot that was broke. And there was also some more holes over here. And you guys can see I did like some little pie cuts on this, and I did the same thing on this plate here. This was to beef up the support for the spindle, and I did a little bit of pie cuts on this on the other side as well. So yeah, it's a mouthful. This deck was in shambles. This piece was also broke too, but I did the spindle. This spindle actually was missing a washer on the other side, so it was binding up. I put a new washer in there yesterday, and the spindle is nice and smooth. This one too, so they're really quiet. I think we've got a good deck here that'll be solid for a while after getting it cleaned up in some paint. So onto the machine. This is a $100 machine that I got from a lady. They used it on their farm property, and it looks pretty rough. It's got, I know it was like 462 hours on it. Has a Briggs Intech V-twin, 22 horse. There is a oil leak that I have yet to discover. Basically everything under here is caked and sludged in oil. I don't know if it'll pick up how much, but I mean, it's just absolutely caked in here, all oil. It looked like it was starting to come from around the oil filter itself, but I think the first order for this machine is going to be a pressure wash. It does start and run, although when you put it in drive, it is a hydrostatic. As soon as you let out on the clutch, it starts making a terrible noise, I think. There is an idler or a pulley underneath that has a bad bearing. It actually does run pretty well though, surprisingly. Well, I need to double check the oil on it. I have another seat because this is the incorrect seat, and they've bypassed the safety with zip ties on it. It has a good battery, and other than that, I mean, it should be a decent machine. The biggest thing I was worried about was if I could save the deck, and I think got that squared away. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this thing with the pressure washer. You guys can see what I'm dealing with all the oil. I'll pull the hood and I'm gonna clean all of that up. That way we can get a good view as to what's going on here. And then I'll get it on the lift and we'll see what all this noise is. I'll let you guys hear it before we check out to see what's underneath, but I think it's just gonna be an idler. All right, well, I got the first pressure washing done. I think this is probably gonna need 2 or 3. Never quite seen so much oil in my life. So, first thing I noticed right off the bat was that the oil filter on here is about to fall off. So I think that's where most of the oil leak is coming from. I was just trying to get an eyeball on it. You can see where I guess it had probably been spraying up on the side and then leaking all down on the engine tray on the frame. And also the drain port is loose on here as well, finger tight. So I think those are our 2 main oil leaks, because I didn't really see too much else. It just looked like it was evident from those 2 spots. And I did also wipe the stick and check the oil on here, and dipstick is dry. So first thing is oil in here before this thing gets locked up. But I'll go ahead, let me top off some oil in here real quick, and then I'll put you guys on the tripod and you can hear this, how noisy this is trying to pull it into the shop. Hopefully you guys could hear that with the clutch in and clutch out. I did go ahead and just tighten up the oil filter on here. I snugged that up. I gotta get a wrench on the drain port. It took an entire quart of oil, is how low this was, so we'll keep an eye on things. I'm gonna go ahead and just take the hood off from here just to get it out of my way, and then we'll get this up in the air and let's take a look underneath. Didn't mention also to you guys, it is actually 114 degrees here today, so probably won't be out here too long. I'm gonna try to get some of this done, and then all the finishing touch stuff will probably be another day, and I'll have all that in this same video. But all right, so off from our drive, up on the top there, we should be coming back, and we'll have 1, 2, 3 pulleys, and then right back to our hydrostatic. So I'll check these. That one sounds pretty good. Trying to get the belts up against these, so it's hard to. That one feels smooth. Oh yeah, I think that's the one right there. This thing's dripping water on me still from washing it. Yeah, you guys can hear that. If that thing's spinning really quick, it makes a ton of noise. So I think that's the only pulley. It's just those 3. So I'll go ahead and take this off. I'll take this off and I'll see if I can, I'll show you guys, I'll see if I can get the bearing case off from here and clean it out and repack it with grease. Let's see if that helps it out. If not, we'll get another pulley on here. Alright, so I got the old pulley off. You guys saw or heard the noise from it. Once I got it off, I realized that it had a big flat spot on it and a hole, and the bearings were pretty crunchy, so I went into my stash of parts and I got this pulley. It was only, I think, a 1/4 inch difference, so it should be fine to run on here. Now, it did have a different bushing, basically, or spacer. The shoulder was a little bit longer on the one that came off, so I had to punch this one out from this pulley and then take the one out of the old pulley and then just repunch or get that back in there. I also went through, cleaned up the bearing with some carb spray and some compressed air, and then repacked it with some grease. I just need to put the dust seal on it now, and we'll go ahead and reinstall this. It was just a 9/16 nut and went right on the shaft, and then the back side of the belt on here. So alright, got the pulley back on. This is the next day actually from when I showed you guys initially pulling this into the shop. I did get that filter tightened up yesterday and snugged up the drain port on here as well. And I did take a peek a few minutes ago. Let me grab a flashlight. I wiped down yesterday underneath of the oil filter, and I know there's still some residual here, but I don't see any weeping or anything leaking down, so I think the filter was just mainly the problem here. Definitely gonna keep an eye on things, but I'll leave that cover off for now. Well, let's see if it'll crank up today, and hopefully this pulley sounds decent. Make sure hydrostatic, because I always forget that. Alright, here we go. Oh yeah, no noise at all. You guys can't hear that, it's smooth as butter. Awesome. Let's try to drive it. Oh yeah, she sounds super, super smooth. Wow, what a difference. Those bearings were shot, and that thing was all flat-sided too, so nice. Steering's like buttery smooth too. It's got a little bit of slop in it. Engine runs super smooth though. This trans is nice and quiet now. So let's turn back our attention on the mower deck. I'm gonna go and I gotta go find a belt for this one. I have a deck, I think I have a 46 that should have this belt on it. So let me go take a look and see if it's the same size and or the same part number, and we'll go ahead and see if we can get the belt mounted up on that and get the deck hung. I know it still needs paint. I need to go up to the store and get some, but I'd like to see functionality on the deck and getting everything, all the bugs worked out. But so far, cranks right up, runs good. We'll double check the charging system on here too, make sure that's all set, and go from there. So let me find a belt and see if we can get this deck on here and get to mowing. Well, I am waiting to go up to the store to grab a belt and some gray paint. I went ahead in the meantime and I was kind of messing with the hood here a little bit. Wanted to show you guys how, like, before and after type. of how I work on a lot of these mowers. And you can see the plastics are real faded, and the headlight's super foggy. Not really sure if there was some hard water stain that got on here, but it's real rough and hazy. And then I started working on this side. You guys can see I buffed the hood here. You can see the reflection really well on the Husqvarna. And then went over to plastic. I didn't go over this yet, but I went over some of the plastics here. You can see the difference on the front, kind of before and after. And also did the pulled the headlight out and buffed on the lens as well, so you guys can see, you know, the difference of this side versus what it looked like before. So just wanted to show you all that. That's pretty much, you know, kind of how I go over most of the mower. I know there's gonna be a lot of work. I'm gonna pull. Oh, also I did get another seat on here out of the scrap pile. This one is now adjustable. It's got the little lever here on the side, so you can slide the seat back and forth and put the seat cover on. I am gonna be taking the seat back off because I wanna get the seat pan. I wanna get that taken off and painted, as well as the crusty seat springs. I'm gonna end up taking off the shroud here for the deck height and scuffing this up and painting the metal here underneath, so that looks better. But yeah, so far it's looking good. Still don't see any oil leaks going on. As far as just sitting static, you know, running it, we'll be able to tell a little bit more. But yeah, it's looking good. We're making good progress. So let me get up to the store. I'll get that belt and we'll see if this thing can start cutting some grass. All right, just got back from the store and I've got the actual OEM style replacement, this K-Force, but it's a 532405143. It's for 46-inch AYP deck. So let me get this on here. We'll see if we can do this in just a split second. Would you look at that? It just flew right on there. But now this should just be the way that this mounts up. I do need to, I've got the brake for the spindle brake and the rod that attaches to it, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab those and see if I can't figure out how those go on here. I'll show you guys when I'm done, and we'll get this deck on here, see if this thing can get to mowing. All right, well, I got it all mounted up. Just have that back hanger, the one in the middle I was telling y'all about, and then the front hanger, and then also the cable that just goes on to that tensioner pulley. And we've got our new belt. I went ahead and pulled the lever just to make sure tension looks good, so we should be all set to be able to test this out. Everything else should be lined up though. Working right, but they are working some. Trying to figure out why I wouldn't move the brakes on. Sweet. See if we can cut a little grass right here. awesome. Well, it looks like we're gonna have a pretty good tractor here after all. I am gonna be taking the deck back off from here and getting everything sanded down to paint. And I'm also probably gonna be painting the wheels on here. I did pick up some gray paint at the store. Gonna be doing the seat pan and springs like I told y'all about, and then also cleaning up the plastics. Gonna paint the front exhaust shroud here, and then give this thing a super deep cleaning, and then get everything kind of polished up. Also gonna paint the rear transmission cover too. So I will go ahead and get going on that. I'll show y'all the deck when I got it prepped, and then we'll lay some paint down. And in the meantime, I'm going to be working on some of that stuff I was telling you guys about, and this thing's going to be looking pretty awesome, so stay tuned for that. All right, well, it's been 2 days. I got a couple coats on this. I put a rust preventative gray on it. It's a little bit lighter than I thought it was going to be, but it does look good, and it's going to serve its purpose. So I can't wait to show you guys the tractor. I'm gonna go ahead and get this mounted up on it and show you guys the final result here. This thing looks so good though, and I know this Husqvarna is gonna be a great running and driving machine for somebody. So you guys are gonna see it's a huge difference from what we started with to what we got now. All right, well, we've got the moment of truth. I appreciate y'all staying tuned, and I'm excited. I put a lot of work in this tractor, and it turned out really good. So I appreciate y'all checking it out, and thank you all the new subscribers. If you are new here and you like this kind of content, maybe think about hitting that subscribe and leaving me a comment. But without further ado, let's check it out. So the mower deck is on here. Looks really good. I blew some grass on here because I just cut my own yard. But if you guys remember what this looked like, it looked like it had been sitting out in the sun for 20 years. All the plastics were dried out. The paint itself was really faded, but went through that, got all the plastics cleaned up, gone through, did the headlights on it, painted that front guard. Let's see, I painted the wheels on here, that nice gray. Does have a couple little scratches on the side. Went through, painted the seat pan and the springs in the rear, so that looks really good. Let's see, we've got the seat cover. Engine looks really good on here now, and this Intech 22 V-twin runs incredibly well. This is just a really nice machine. I think this turned out really good. I mean, when we started out, we had a deck that was totally gone and unusable, and the idler pulley going to that transmission was shot as well. So let me go ahead and crank it up for you guys. Let you hear it. Pulled it over here a little bit ago, so shouldn't have to choke it. It's so smooth. I'll put you guys on the tripod and give it a little test run. Take y'all on a test ride here. Everything works, all the safeties are hooked up. I mean, it runs incredibly smooth. Transmission super quiet, deck is super smooth. That's it right there. Looking good. Oh, and I did paint the back on here as well. So I mean, everything is touched up. I did grease the, let's see, the front bearings on it, greased the axles. What else? I greased the spindles on here. Basically went through everything. The only thing left I've got to do is just a oil change on it, and then let's see, what was it? I think just level out the deck and sharpen the blades, but other than that, it should be ready to go. So thank you guys as always for checking out the channel. I really appreciate it. And on that note, let freedom ring, let the small engine sing. I'll see you guys next time.